that this will go on YouTube later on. So for those of you who are watching live, thank you so much for joining. If you're watching the playback, thank you so much for watching the playback. And reminder for all of today's live attendees that a playback link will be emailed out to you. So if you happen to want to take notes, write down furiously, feel free, but do know that I'll be sending this out to you electronically so that you can both watch the playback, just the recording, but then you can also get a copy of the slides and you can kind of review and go as you will, right? I love to have you guys on video so I can see you and hear you. And sometimes I might be saying thumbs up. Are you guys still getting this? But if you don't want to turn your video on, I totally get it. The Zoom fatigue is real. Sometimes we have, ladies, not our hair and makeup's not done, or you may have just stumbled out of bed and you don't want to be on camera, right? So totally get that, but I would love it if you guys could keep your camera on if you're comfortable doing so. All right, so let's get started. We are here for 6 tips on using LinkedIn for business development. This is part of my Power 30 webinar series. I designed these in short kind of chunks in order for you to get some real actionable tips that you can use now. And I do these sessions in a variety of different topics. Today, we're focusing really on using LinkedIn for business development. So what we're going to do to get started here, and I'm looking at my phone, looking at the time, it's about 10:04. So I usually like to wait until a few minutes after the scheduled start time for the session. And I would like for you guys to please go into chat and just do a quick introduction of yourself. And you don't need to say, hi, this is Brenda Meller, because Zoom already says your name. Okay. So all I'd like you to do is just tell us your company. What do you do at your company? Like that quick little elevator pitch, if you will, and then drop your LinkedIn URL in here. And I want to show you guys this. When you put your LinkedIn URL in, I'm actually going to drop my window over here so I can show you what I'm doing. If I were to pull up my LinkedIn profile and I go in that address bar at the top, and just, if I were just to copy my URL and paste that into chat right now, you're going to notice if I paste it just with the www, it's not blue and it's not clickable. And if I grab that entire address bar with the HTTPS, and then if I paste that in there, now it's blue and it's clickable. Okay, so this is a little bonus tip for you guys. As you're going into any sort of a training webinar or anything like that, when you're introducing yourself, and I like to actually, I just have this on my desktop. So if I go into, I could just copy this right now, and then I could put this into chat, and it includes my LinkedIn URL with that HTTPS. It's a great way of just doing a quick introduction of yourself as you're in these sessions. So what I like about this is a great way of just extending your network and growing your network. I was in a Troy Chamber event this morning and I used the very same tip. I put my LinkedIn URL in the chat, made it blue and clickable to encourage people to connect with me. So I want you guys to go ahead and do that now, and I'll wait for you guys. I want to see at least 1 or 2 of these introductions coming in so that you know how to do this technique. And then if you are a multitasker like me, what you can do is you can start to open up these links in a separate window and invite people to connect. Okay, you can grow your network while you're in my webinar, right? Great, brilliant tip here. And when you invite people to connect, do make sure that you are personalizing your invitation. And what that means is when you visit someone's profile, and I'm trying to find someone I'm not yet connected with. I think Heather I am, Mike Lamb. But when you visit their profile, you want to, when you go on their profile, right, and then you see the header image in the background, you know they're in the workplace, click on connect. And then when you invite them to connect, add a note. And then you might say, hi, Michael, we were both on Brenda's LinkedIn webinar today. Let's connect on LinkedIn. So you want to include some context there, so people remember where you met them, right? And it's a good way to get that conversation started. So go ahead, introduce yourself in chat. And I want to invite you guys to connect with one another throughout the session here today or even afterwards. All right, so those are a quick couple introductions. I see Heather is joining us from ASC. I see Michael Schaefer, who is the wine counselor. He does edutainment about wine and spirits. Make sure to check him out. And then Vincent Barrett is in there as well. So thank you guys for doing that. So let's get started here. Here are the 6 tips that we'll be covering in today's session. And as I review this list, I want to remind you guys of 2 things you see in the upper side of your screen here. Yes, it's okay if you want to take pictures or screen captures during the webinar. Okay. Now, if you get fancy, you can use one of those screen clipping tool things, but the easy way, really super easy way. You guys got a phone in front of you, right? I know everybody has a phone in front of them. Grab out your phone, open up your camera, just turn it sideways so you can get a nice horizontal picture. And the good thing is we always know where our phone is at, right? And we always know where those pictures are at that we took on our phone. Someday you're going to want to come back to something in this webinar and you're not going to be able to find the slide deck. You're not going to be able to find the recording, right? You may or may not want to reach out to me, but if you take a picture, it's in your phone and you can remember where it's at. And then on that note too, if you want to share anything on social media, feel free. All I would ask that you do is just make sure that you tag me if you're sharing a photo that goes along with it. Okay. So what we're going to be covering here today, 6 tips, and we've got 30 minutes together to go through these. So we're going to be talking about optimizing your profile, having a business page, being strategic about invitations, engaging daily, posting daily, and being active on LinkedIn. Okay. So those are the 6 tips we're going to cover. The content will be delivered in 30 minutes, and we might have about 5 minutes for Q&A. If you do have any questions though, go ahead and put the question in chat right now. Just type question in all caps. It makes it a little bit easier for me to identify those. And then I'll try to get through your questions at the end of our broadcast today. All right, so let's start with tip number 1, which is optimizing your profile. And if you're using LinkedIn for business development, biggest mistake I see, guys, is that profiles are written to look like a resume. And remember, the goal of a resume is to find a job. Now, if you're using LinkedIn for business development, you're not looking for a job, you're looking to sell to people, right? So think about sculpting your online brand. And I love using this analogy. This is the statue of the little girl who's in the financial district and she's got her hands on her hips, right? And I think about when that artist or sculptor originally got that slab of whatever that material was, it was shapeless. It was probably a rectangular block, right? And they had to think about what to carve out and then what to keep in, right? To give it the shape. Your LinkedIn profile should be the same way. You want to kind of sculpt this work of art and thinking about who is your ideal target audience. So think about that right now. Who is your ideal target audience? That's who you're writing your profile for. Okay. Shouldn't look like a resume because they don't care about how many sales goals you achieved last year if it's not related to how you're going to help them in their business. So really focus on sculpting your profile for your ideal target audience and think about filling out all the areas they give you, using the character limits, because that's going to help you to come up in more searches and also to keep the right people on your profile longer. Okay. And I want you to think about writing your profile so that it is interesting for a human being to read. Because if I look at your profile, and I want you guys to look at your profile today, look at it. Is it interesting to you? If it's not interesting to you, it's not going to be interesting to me, right? So make sure that it's interesting for human beings to read. And the other thing is think about writing it for a computer. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there's this algorithm that kind of runs behind the scene on all the social networks, and it helps to kind of think about like Google as an analogy. So when we go into Google and we type best pizza places in Troy, Michigan, Google's going to put to the top of the search results the most likely and most relevant searches. Your LinkedIn profile is the same way. When you're doing searches for people on LinkedIn, LinkedIn wants to deliver to you those best search results. So you want to think about writing your profile for that computer so that it's pulling you up in more searches and more relevant searches for the right types of keywords. All right, and I'm not going to go through everything on profile optimization, but I just want to cover off a few reminders on today's session. So a few kind of common things I see, and if you're using LinkedIn for business development, they make me cringe. And the first thing is, look at your header, that rectangular block that's behind your headshot photo at the very top of your profile. If you have not updated that this year, you need to update it. And I like to think about that rectangular block as like that's advertising or marketing space for my business. Right now, what am I promoting? I'm promoting my book, right? I just launched a LinkedIn strategy book, my very first book. I'm promoting it in my header. So think about what are you promoting right now? And are you using that rectangular space behind you to promote it? So whether that's a product or service or just generally speaking, something about your business, create something that goes behind you in that header block, okay? The other thing is if you're using LinkedIn for business development, check your contact info. I can't tell you how often I look at someone's contact info and it has their former employer or there's no websites in there at all. Or instead of their work email, I see their home email, okay? And let's think about this. Let's say I stumble upon your profile. I'm interested in learning more about your business and I want to do business with you. And I'm not sure how often you're using LinkedIn. So I click on your contact info because I want to email you. And then I see you've got like an AOL email in there. And then I think, well, I don't want to bother Donald at home. It's really a work related question. So I'll just go onto his website later and try to find his contact info. Guess what? Later never comes. Now you've lost me as a potential customer. So make sure that you're reviewing that contact info, make sure everything's accurate. Use your work email as your primary email, because if you're using LinkedIn for business development, people want to get a hold of you at work. Okay, so use that. And then the other thing is the featured section. This is a newer section on LinkedIn. If you do not have it enabled yet, at the top of your profile, there's a little drop down button that says add a profile section, and you can add the featured section in. I like to think about this featured section as like an end cap at the grocery store. Okay, so if I go to the grocery store this week, I'm probably going to see, you know, Nabisco crackers or Kellogg cereal or something on the end cap, right? Now, last week, it was probably Hershey's chocolate for Valentine's Day, right? So the grocery store swaps out those featured items at the end of their aisle to promote the products and services that are relevant in that grocery store that week. Your featured section is kind of the same way. It's a really great prominent section of your profile. If you're using LinkedIn for business development, you've got to have some items in that featured section. Okay. So you can see in mine right now, I have my Power 30, today's webinar. This was in my featured section. I know some of you may have found this section, the webinar rather, because of the section that was enabled. Okay. So check that out. Make sure that you've got maybe 2 to 3 items in there, and definitely reach out to me if I can be of further assistance to you with helping you with your profile. All right, so my first tip was having, you know, an optimized profile. My second tip for you, if you are using LinkedIn for business development, is to make sure you have a business page. And I just want to show you this as an example. You've probably seen some of these profiles, right? Somebody reaches out to me and they are a digital ad specialist, right? And I look in the top kind of header card section of their profile, and they've got this gray building avatar next to their company page. And I think about, what am I thinking when I see that gray building avatar? What are you thinking when you see that gray building avatar? Well, it kind of puts a question mark in your mind, doesn't it? I think about, when I see these, I think about, well, this person's either not that well established, they're not a legitimate business, right? Or maybe they're working out of their basement, right? And it could be that none of those things are in fact true. They just haven't set up their page yet, or they haven't linked it, but it's kind of an immediate split section reaction, right? And I want to encourage you guys, if you are using LinkedIn for business development, you need to have a business page on LinkedIn. When you set up a business page, you'll have the ability to update your logo, rather to upload your logo into that page, and that logo will appear at the top of your LinkedIn header. Okay, so make sure that you get that set up. It's free to set it up. I'll include instructions on there if you don't have that page set up already. But remember, gray is not okay when it comes to that building avatar where your company logo should be. All right, so you need to have an optimized profile. You need to have a business page. And I just want to show you an example in comparison. Aaron Stone, I mean, both of these people, I'm going to go back to the previous slide, work in digital marketing. What a difference. I mean, look at Aaron's got a great header image in the background. We clearly know what he does. And you see his company, Rev Local. When I see a logo in that field where the previous person had the gray block, it creates legitimacy. It gives me a warm feeling, right? I know this is a legitimate business because I can see his logo that's attached to it. Okay, so just a quick comparison there. And I do have in here Aaron's LinkedIn profile. I'm actually going to drop it into chat in case you guys want to connect with him. Aaron was just on a Troy Chamber webinar with me. I had to drop off there to come into the session, and I told him I'd be giving him a little shout out in here. So I just want to drop that in there real quick. All right, so moving along here. So far we've talked about optimizing your profile and having a business page. Let's move on and talk about being strategic about invitations. So what do I mean by this? When you invite people to connect, you should always include a personal note. You should always give people some context, and be careful not to use these automated services. I don't know about you guys. I've noticed an increase in these spammy looking invites that are coming in. And this is just a random one I received about a month ago. And this person, I'm guessing it was an automated service, and I kind of have been trying to figure out how do I figure out if this is really automated or not. This is what I do. I reply back with the word test, just like I did in here. I just replied back and I said test. And this person said, Brenda, yes, I have a product that would benefit you greatly. I look forward to connecting. And I replied back with test. And the person replied back to me, you know, within a matter of a half hour, 45 minutes. Hey, Brenda, thank you for connecting. I did not accept, by the way. Let me ask you a question. How many people do you find that read your profile even though you ask them to read it? Do you guys see the irony of this? I mean, when I was reading this message, I was like, wait a minute, you're telling me people don't read your profile. You didn't even read my response. You know? So be strategic about invitations. Do not use automated services because yes, we can smell them from a mile away. My test on this is, could I remove the person's first name, the person's first name, and use that same invitation for everyone? If I could, that is not personalized. And in this case, it's very clear to me that this person was selling, right? That they're trying to get a sale out of me. So instead, what I would recommend is that when you connect with people, you want to be strategic about your invitations. Make it all about them. And an easy way of doing this is, hi, Julie, we haven't met yet, but I see that we share several common connections in Metro Detroit, including Michael Schaefer. Maybe I name drop somebody, right? Let's connect on LinkedIn, Brenda Meller. Okay. What does that do? That helps with relationship building. That helps with establishing trust with a new connection. And it removes this spammy looking invitation that we can smell from a mile away, right? When it looks like somebody is really taking the time to personalize an invitation and get to know me, I am more likely to accept the invitation. And I'm guessing you guys will too. So try this technique, be strategic about invitations moving forward. Every time you send out an invitation, you want to include a personal note, make it all about them. Do not sell an invitation. All right. So that's my third tip for you guys. And that just involves being strategic about your invitations. My fourth tip is, and this is really important, you need to be kind of active on LinkedIn, right? And the easiest way of doing that is going into your homepage and engaging with people every single business day. And I like to think about the concept here of building social media karma. So I think about this analogy. When my son was, I think he was 15, we took him to get his first checking/savings account at our credit union. And when we got it set up, they gave him a card, right? It's like a Visa looking card. And he's all excited because he's got this Visa card. And he's like, cool, now I can buy stuff. And I said, well, Joshua, that's not exactly the way that it works. You have to put money into the account before you can take money out of the account. And LinkedIn is the same way. If you are not yet getting results on using LinkedIn for business development, I want you to kind of look inside yourself here and think about your activities on LinkedIn. How often are you going out into the homepage feed? What I recommend is that you spend 15 minutes every single day in that homepage feed. And it might be this is the first visit you do to your LinkedIn before you do the other stuff, posting and inviting and all the other stuff. Go to your LinkedIn homepage feed. Think about this as a place where you are making deposits, okay? You're creating social media karma by responding to other people's posts, maybe giving them some likes and reactions. Those are good. Even better would be if you can comment with 5 or more words. Now that 5 or more words is really key to the algorithm because LinkedIn rates those responses a little bit heavier, gives it more of a point system, right? And that's going to help that person's post to sit in the homepage feed longer. The other side of it is that, and you notice here in an example, Gail Robinson, she got 12 likes and 19 comments. Now, Gail was somebody who's done some of my webinars. So my guess is if I were to look at the 19 comments, it was probably maybe 9 comments so far. And then Gail has replied back. Okay. Usually you'll see that a person's post might have 24 likes and 3 comments. And you could be one of those 3 people. That's going to help to increase your visibility. Okay. So my fourth tip for you guys, again, is to build up that social media karma, spend some time in that homepage feed, and engage with others every single day. All right. Hopefully that helps out. And I've given you some specific examples on things that you can do when you go out into that homepage feed. My fifth tip for all of you is to post daily. Okay. So if you are using LinkedIn for business development, you can't just connect and forget. Okay. And I think it's really important to stay top of mind for people because at the moment that we connect, they may not want to do business with us. They may not be in immediate need. They may not have any referrals to send to us. But if you're posting every single business day on LinkedIn, you're helping to keep yourself top of mind for people in your network. And Alexandria is one of the other people who was in the Troy Chamber session I was in this morning. And I just looked at her activity feed. And you can do this routing one. Go on their profile and go to the where it says see all activity. You can click on that. And then I clicked on posts and I can see what is the last thing that Alexandria posted and how long ago was it. And I can see in this case, she works for Hall Financial. She's being a great brand ambassador for her company. She clicked to share something out onto her LinkedIn and she's sharing her company page post for Hall Financial. And she's, saying proud to be a part of Hall Financial and supporting Donnie Trosper. So by doing so, that puts her name out into the homepage feed and it helps her remain top of mind for her network. So very common mistake I see people making is they forget about the importance of posting. And they're just using LinkedIn for prospecting, for sending out messages one-to-one, things like that. That's definitely an important part of business development on LinkedIn. But the other side is that you yourself need to be active and you can do so by posting at least once every business day. If you're struggling with what to post, kind of look around you and think about what are you working on today? What events are you attending? Hint, hint, today's webinar, right? Take a picture of something in today's webinar and you could post that picture on your LinkedIn and say something like, attended a phenomenal webinar led by Brenda Meller of Meller Marketing and learned new LinkedIn strategies to help me expand and promote my business, right? So think about whether it's webinars like today, e-newsletters that you're getting, inspirational quotes that you come across, articles about your company. Think about getting into that habit of posting at least once a week, but trying to really strive for once every business day. All right, so that's my 5th tip for you guys, is to post daily. And moving along here, we got 30 minutes together, so I'm going to move us along quickly here. My 6th and final tip is to be active on LinkedIn. Now, there's a lot of activities I've given you throughout this webinar here today. And my 6th and final tip is kind of bringing them all together. And I think about, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? And I love pie, by the way, guys, too. And anytime I can find a pie graph to help illustrate an analogy, I will. And I found this one on Pinterest today. So what do we do when we're waiting for toast to pop up, right? And I saw this and I'm like, okay, you do get the butter and the utensils out, put your napkin out there, clean up the kitchen a little, you're wiping up the crumbs, and then you stare at the toaster, right? What could you be doing instead, though? You could be unloading the dishwasher. You can be checking voicemails on your phone. I mean, we all have 24 hours in a day. I don't get 48. I wish I did, but I do not get 48. I get the same 24 hours that you do, that Oprah Winfrey does, Jay Rowbottom, Gary Vaynerchuk. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. So it's really about, how do you focus those hours to help you to meet your business goals? And how do you use that time on LinkedIn to spend that time a little bit more strategically? So here's what I would recommend. Every day, Monday through Friday, maybe even Saturday and Sunday, spend 15 minutes on LinkedIn. And I've given you 5 categories. So if you want, you could pick one category for Monday, another for Tuesday, another for Wednesday. You can go that way, or you can kind of bounce between those 5 categories. But here's what I would do. In 15 minutes a day, visit the homepage. Scroll through, see what other people are talking about, liking and commenting. That's going to help with your visibility. In 15 minutes, you could also create a post on LinkedIn. Maybe the post is an inspirational quote. Maybe it's a poll. Michael Schaefer, might post about what's your favorite wine with dinner, right? And is it a red? Is it a white? Is it something else? You can create something that's related to your business. You could screen invitations, look and see all those pending invitations from people that have sent you, and take a look at their profile. If there's a good fit, accept them and then message them back, let them know a little bit about your business and see if there's business opportunities there. That's another way. Reply to messages. There's an inbox feature in LinkedIn where people can send you one-to-one messages, and kind of look through and see if there are any open-ended messages that you need to respond to. You could spend your 15 minutes a day there. Finally, you could use 15 minutes a day doing probably what you're only doing right now, searching for targeted leads, sending out those invitations. Hopefully not with that sales pitch message anymore, now that I've taught you there is a better way, and that is to personalize invites. But that should only be one of the activities. If you are using LinkedIn for business development, you really need to blend your activities to build up your visibility, to build up that social media karma, and focusing on those communications. So all of these things combined are going to help you to be more active on LinkedIn. And again, we're not just spending all the time staring at the toaster, right? We're spending a little bit of time across different activities and different types of things, and that's going to help you to get the most out of your LinkedIn. All right, guys, I'm looking at my clock. We got about 4 minutes to go here. So as we wrap up and before I move into Q&A, I just want to give you a couple of reminders. We talked today about optimizing your profile. We talked about having a business page, being strategic about invitations, engaging daily, posting daily, and being active. I hope you found some great value in this Power 30 webinar here today. I've enjoyed delivering this to you, and really just hope that this was helpful for all of you. If you do need some additional LinkedIn help, this is my only sales pitch time, guys. And I don't like to do webinars that are like 30 minutes of a sales pitch, but hey, this is part of what I do for my business. So if you do need more LinkedIn help, I am absolutely available to you. I do individual coaching sessions via Zoom. I do LinkedIn profile optimization. So if you don't want to spend the time on your own, I can help you with that. I do LinkedIn company page strategy. I also deliver virtual LinkedIn team training, personalized for your organization, specializing in sales teams and working with executives. And then I do have a couple of online LinkedIn courses as well, where you can kind of sign up and they're on demand. You can watch them wherever you want. And finally, I just published a book, my very first LinkedIn book. It's called Social Media Pie, How to Enjoy a Bigger Slice of LinkedIn. Actually, let me grab one behind me here. This is the book right here. So if you haven't purchased it yet, $19.99. You can buy this on my website, or you can pick it up on Amazon. It's a really great, fun read. Talks about my love of pie. Yes, it is actually an apple pie on the cover. But then it's really chock full of LinkedIn strategy tips. So definitely check that out. All right. And then in this Power 30 webinar series, today you're in 6 tips on using LinkedIn for business development. I've also got a couple of others in this series, a LinkedIn for speakers, setting your prices as an independent consultant, and a winning at Zoom, amongst other topics. So make sure you check out my event calendar, and I'll be sending you an email with the link that you can bounce on back over to that. All right, and then if you do want to book an individual session, I'll include this in the email reminder as well. I do offer a 2-hour LinkedIn session for $450 delivered through Zoom. I send you a recorded playback, and it includes a half-hour follow-up phone call. Or if you just want to do a 30-minute call, we can do that as well. Delivered through Zoom, still recorded, and that's just $50 for that phone call, okay? All right, so as we wrap up here today, I want to ask you guys for one thing, okay? Could you do me one favor? Go into chat right now, and I want you to type in chat one thing that you learned on today's webinar that you're going to implement today on LinkedIn. Now, I know that we as adults, we know that if we are sharing information with others, if we're telling others, this is something I'm going to do today, you have a higher likelihood of getting that done. Okay. So if you're not going to type anything in, I'm like, well, you just spent 30 hours or 30 minutes rather. Did you waste that 30 minutes, or did you invest in yourself? If you go into chat and you commit to doing something, you're sharing that with the other webinar attendees, you're more likely to do it. So go in chat, share with us one thing that you learned that you will implement on LinkedIn today. Okay. Little bonus for any of you overachievers, you can go on LinkedIn and you can post and share that same thing. And you could tag me, talk about the webinar, and I will comment back. I've got a large network. I will encourage people to visit your profile. Okay. What's the value of having a big network if I can't share it with everybody? So I want to help you as a thank you for being on today's webinar. If you share that on LinkedIn today, tag me in your post. I will comment back and encourage my network to check out your profile. All right, guys, and then we're going to move into Q&A in just a second here. So if you have any questions, you can enter those in chat right now and be happy to help you guys out. So let's see what everyone is commenting in chat. Shannon is committing to posting daily, or to start at least weekly. That's good, Shannon. Start small and then work your way up to posting every day. And you're welcome, Shannon. It's a pleasure having you here. Monique says she's going to start using 5 words in comments. So great. So don't just say thanks, nice job. Using 5 words is really going to help out that algorithm. So good to see. Mike, hey Mike, how you doing? Mike and I actually saw each other at an event which was like on the cusp of COVID last year. Was the Marketing and Sales Executives of Detroit. And it was like February, late in the month, I think like February 21st, something like that. And it was like a few weeks later, everything kind of shifted in the world. I think we were still handshaking that day, Mike. Do you remember? I can't remember. But anyways, Mike says he's going to add more info in his featured section on the profile, and he's going to update it periodically. So glad to help you out with that. All right. Carrie says she didn't know it was best to at least use 5 words in a comment. So I'm so glad to have shared that information with you. And I think about both the algorithm, but I also think about human nature, because most people just say great, thanks, nice job, 2 words. When you do 5 or more words, it actually builds up more engagement with folks in your network. So it's both the algorithm, but it's also that human nature element. So I'm so glad you found this helpful, and I enjoyed the meeting, and I'm so glad that you feel that it was time well spent as well. Michael Schaefer, how you doing, sir? He says, great job as usual, 15 minutes and at least 5 words. So that's something you're going to commit to today, Michael. I'm going to be looking at your LinkedIn activity. You know that later, right? And making sure that you're following up with that. Robert Chalette says at least 5 words in the LinkedIn comment section. So great to see that you're hearing that. Jack Jampel, hey Jack, nice to see you again. Jack is going to be posting daily. Heather says she's going to make her page look less like a resume. All right. So common mistake, Heather, because a lot of the fields look very similar in your profile as what appears in your resume. But when you kind of shift that mindset to focusing on building your profile for your ideal target audience, it's going to help you to kind of figure out what to take out and what to keep in. And Heather says she's trying to post and featured, and every image I try is too big. Is there a particular size? Heather, what I usually do is I pick the image size that I found works best on LinkedIn, which is 1200 by 628 pixels. So I'm going to put this in chat right now for you. So 1200 by 628 px, and then I use canva.com to create my images. So if you guys are not familiar, canva.com is like graphic designer for dummies, and it's free. And you can go in there, create a free account, and then create an image, and you can say use these dimensions, 1200 by 628. And then when you export, I'm just going to put this in chat to export as a PNG format. I found that that retains the resolution. So it's a more crisp looking image on LinkedIn. All right, let's see what else we have in there. Hopefully that was helpful for you, Heather. Vincent says he is going to build karma on LinkedIn every single day. I'm looking forward to seeing you on there, Vincent, and I'll look in and see your activity on there. Let's see any other comments that were in here. Michael says, what wine pairs best with an apple pie? I don't know, Michael, what do you think? What wine pairs best? Is it a fruity, maybe? Fruity wine? I'm not really sure. That's a really good question. Or is it an apple pairing? Something with hints of apple in it, perhaps. I'm not sure. Jack says he's attended previous sessions. And I felt like, Jack, when I saw you here today, I'm like, haven't you come in this one before? Could you deliver this for me at this point? But repetition is key. And you guys feel free to sign up as many of these Power 30 webinars as you'd like. I did change up the format just a little bit here today, Jack, and hopefully you found it a little bit helpful. Sometimes I feel like putting less content in allows you to go a little bit deeper. So hopefully you enjoyed that in there. All right, let's see. Anything else? Evan says, I'm with Quad and I help direct marketers predictably and profitably win new customers. So you were doing the introduction at the beginning. Looks like I'm back to the top of the chat again. All right, guys. So I think that is all I have. I'm going to stop the recording at this point and thank everyone for watching.